You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute you're up 500,000 in soybeans and the next, boom.
Do not attempt to adjust your device.
The revolution starts now.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Turn those machines back on!
You are about to enter the halls of justice.
Show me the money!
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
This is the halls of justice. He is your host, Justice.
Welcome on into the big show today. I'm your host, Justus, along with my co-host, the Fat Man. Nice to have you with us. Today is February the 17th, 2021, and it is a sad day today. My phone started blowing up, and usually during the day I don't have time to keep an eye on it, but this time I happened to glance at it, and we got the news that Rush Limbaugh had passed away. And I do have to say that Fat Man was the one that actually introduced me to him many years ago. I never caught the show as often as I would like due to my other work schedule. But this guy, truly a pioneer. People call him the father, the inventor of the talk radio program. I don't know that I go that far, but I will say he is definitely the inventor of the political talk radio program. Fat Man, I know this one hit you in the souls. It hit you hard.
It really did. I don't usually get too wound up or too emotionally tied when celebrities pass away. I mean, look, whether Joe Smith from Topeka, passes away or a celebrity dies, somebody passed away, it's always sad. But this is one that really resonates. And part of the reason it resonates so much is because there's no one like him. There's no one to fill the void that he's going to leave. And one of the things about Rush Limbaugh, love him or hate him, and this is one of those things that you'd wish that people would just be able to understand the brilliance of the man, even if you didn't appreciate or identify with what he said. Unfortunately, the left has gone a different direction if you read posts online, but trying to stay away from that. Actually, Rush would probably laugh at the reaction that the left is going, and the one person posting "rest in piss" instead of "rest in peace." I would bet you that Rush is actually laughing about those types of reaction. But the one thing about Rush Limbaugh is he got the concept of a show, and he wasn't just about reporting, the facts or whatever. He made it into entertainment, and he made it a show, and that's what made it so fun to listen to him. And he always used to say, I use this saying all the time, pointing out the absurd by being absurd. And so few people could actually understand what Rush Limbaugh was doing, is he was trying to entertain you and inform you at the same time. And there's just no one else that does it like he did. And it's a tremendous loss. Even if, like I said, even if you're not a conservative, and even if you didn't agree with his politics, you should still be able to understand the greatness of what he did. And remember, part of the reason, you probably didn't hear him as much is you were competing against him. You were on at the same time, but he was just a person that just saved AM radio. If you remember back into the 80s and 90s, AM was done. Nobody was listening to AM radio until Rush Limbaugh came up, and he brought this talk radio into a different light, and basically not only saved talk radio but saved AM radio as well.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Rush. We're not gonna bring up what the extreme people are saying. We're not doing that today. So the show must go on, and so must we. Apparently, they still want Trump. 3 out of 4 Republicans want to see the former president play a big role in the GOP going forward. There's a new headline and a new national poll conducted. It took place Thursday through Sunday. I didn't get a call on it. during and after the acquittal of Trump in his Senate impeachment trial. So it looks like 3 out of 4 Republicans would like to see him play a big role in the GOP still going forward. I don't know what kind of role he still has to play. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of his family members jump into the ring now, but I just don't know at, 74, maybe 78, when the next election comes around. I don't know what kind of role he's got left to play. How about you?
Well, keep in mind your current president is 78. So
he ain't making 4 years off.
Us, as a that's true. That's true. The fact that he's, I don't think the age is the factor here. I think it's going to be more of is he electable, and I hate that phrase, but I think in this case it's going to apply. I think the division that's there is not going to go away. Because remember, Joe Biden didn't win an election. Donald Trump lost it. And, well, if you believe the counts. But more people voted because they voted. They didn't care who the suit was. They didn't care what was in the suit, who was in the suit. It could have been a man. It could have been a woman. It could have been a polar bear. Whoever was had their name on the Democratic side, they were going to vote for that person because they hated Donald Trump as a human being. Didn't care about his policies. Probably don't even know one of his policies. They probably don't know any of the good he ever did. They were going to vote against Donald Trump, and that's how Joe Biden won the election. Again, if you take the tallies at face value, that's how he won the election. So I don't think that's going to go away in 4 years. The people that hated Trump are still going to hate him, and I don't know that he can win. So I do think he can play, and the catchphrase everybody uses, I do think he can play the role of kingmaker. And I would also say this, without Trump's support, without the base that supported Donald Trump, any Republican is going to have a hard time winning. So he is going to have a little bit of that potential to be a kingmaker, because if you don't get that Trump base out and vote for the next presidential candidate on the Republican side, they won't win. They can't win without that base. We haven't seen a rabid base like this since at least Reagan, for sure. So the Republicans would do themselves a great service by making sure Donald Trump is happy and making sure he brings his base behind whatever candidate they put up for any office, whether it's Senate, whether it's the House, or whether it's a presidential election.
Yeah. So we're going to move on a little bit. I want to do a story in between. I was going to get to Biden here in a minute. This one's called Cuomo Lies, and then I'm going to follow it up real quick with Biden Lies. So it looks like the Cuomo administration started covering up this nursing home debacle with a phony report that was issued by their state Department of Health, even before the U.S. Department of Justice had ever asked for the information. He's tried to explain this. He's tried to circle back, but his logic and the events he gives doesn't add up to the calendar. So if this was a Republican or anybody even leaning that way, would it be time for a special prosecutor in this case?
I think that's an obvious yes. And I will tell you one thing, in fairness to the Democrats on this one, finally somebody's actually calling balls and strikes. A lot of Democrats and a lot of influential Democrats in New York have come out and are pointing out what Cuomo has done and what he did by sending those, not only sending those people who were sick and in a hospital, ordering nursing homes to accept those patients. And look, we can sugarcoat this as much as you want. You took the most vulnerable part of the population and you sent people who had the virus, could still spread the virus. You sent them right into those nursing homes. It killed them. Okay. And sure, that's a little bit on the dramatic side, but let's call it what it is. If you send somebody in there who has a disease and they're the most vulnerable people, and was he following the science? I mean, I can't imagine, even if look, a novel virus, we didn't have all the details. We had to find out some information. Okay, that's fair. But if you were to say to somebody, You could pick somebody on the street and say, look, there's a new disease out there. Who should we protect first? I would guarantee you 9 out of 10 people would say children and old people. The last people you're going to put in any harm's way of any sickness, children, old people. Now, it turns out as the research came out downstream, the children aren't as susceptible to it. But boom, there it is. Elderly with comorbidity, you're most susceptible. So where was the science? Where was the thought process that Cuomo came up with that said, I know where we'll send them. Put them in nursing homes with elderly people.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But fairness, the Democratic Party, many of their leaders in New York are coming out and saying he needs to resign. This needs to be investigated. And I hope we drill down on this and get the details.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, didn't he have that big hospital ship? Didn't Trump send the big Red Cross hospital ship in there that was never used?
Yeah. So the hospital ship was there basically empty. And then, because originally, and then they also had the Javits Center, which was also available and basically empty. And remember, the hospital ship was there originally. That was sent there to New York City to take non-COVID patients. It was there to open up beds inside New York City's hospitals. But the Army was able to, or Army or Navy, I can't remember whose ship it was, but they were able to get that ship up to speed where they could take COVID, because obviously there's a different amount of seclusion that you need with patients who have to have surgery versus somebody who has a COVID sickness. So they had to almost retrofit the ship, and they did it. They were able to do it. So that ship could have taken COVID patients. Same thing for the Javits, and neither one of them were used. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. And again, this isn't something where you had to be an epidemiologist. I think that's what it is, epidemiologist or whatever it is that studies diseases. You didn't have to. You just had to have common sense. Protect the kids. Protect the old people. Okay, that's the first thing you do out of the gate. And then if science down the road tells you something different, you adjust accordingly. Well, science down the road told us that kids weren't as vulnerable, but certainly old people, as you would expect, were.
Yeah. This
is inexcusable. And Janice Dean from Fox has been the leading voice behind that. And thank goodness she had a platform to push this. And how I don't know if you heard it, but how insulting the Cuomo administration was to her. And they flippantly said, stick to doing the weather, broad. Now, they didn't say the word broad, but that's how it came off. You dumb broad, just go and do the weather. And that's basically what they said to her. Her in-laws both died, separate nursing homes from COVID. Okay? So basically her in-laws were killed by this action, and their reaction to that, the Cuomo administration's reaction was stick to doing the weather.
That's unacceptable.
Terrible.
Arrogance.
The arrogance.
Did you happen? I didn't watch any of this. I saw the highlights. Did you see any of the softball CNN town hall meeting with Biden? Happen to see any of that?
I couldn't bring myself to watch it, but I've heard some of the quotes. And my favorite, and I don't know if you have this clip, but my absolute favorite is, so you've been in Washington a long time, asked Anderson Cooper. You've been in Washington a long time, been around the White House a long time.
The biggest thing.
Now that you're a resident of the White House, what's different?
Yeah, the question they asked was ridiculous. What was his reply?
Yeah, the answer to that question was, every morning I wake up and I see Jill and I go, where are we?
I think he did that long before they got
answer. There. That's every morning, no matter where he is. That's every morning, no matter. That was his answer. That was his answer. You just stand, and I think Anderson Cooper was also standing there going, "What did he just say?" like just almost like when they asked, asked at the debates when Trump asked him, "Are you going to shut down fossil fuels?" And he said, "Yeah." And Trump goes, "I just won the election." And then the moderator comes on and go, "Did you really mean to say that?" It was that same kind of reaction. Like, Joe, do you know everybody thinks you're senile, and you just told everybody you don't know you're in the White House every morning. It was unbelievable. But that was just the tip of the iceberg of how bad that fiasco was. Nobody asked him about Cuomo.
No.
I mean, they completely ignored all the big tough questions.
I'm sure the questions were pre-approved long in advance. So the clip I do have, take a listen to this one. He's claiming that there was no COVID vaccine available until he became president. Take a listen here.
And the biggest thing, though, as you remember, when you and I shouldn't say it that way, as you remember, but when you and I talked last, we talked about it's one thing to have the vaccine, which we didn't have when we came into office, but a vaccinator. How do you get the vaccine into someone's arm? And
so there you go. As I talked, there was no vaccine when he came into office. Yet I think I looked it up, and over 1 million doses were actually distributed the day that he took office. So that's what you get for fact checking him. He's senile. He's out there.
He had it put into his arm.
That is true.
He said that there were no vaccines available when he took over, and he had literally just had one put in his arm. And here's the thing. It isn't just a case of Biden being senile, which he is, and slipping. Kamala Harris said the same thing, that there was no stockpile.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
when they took over, that Trump. So, yeah, both of them saying it.
Yeah, I got that right here.
Here's her quote. Is you have her quote? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, she goes, in many ways, we are starting from scratch on something that's been raging for almost an entire year.
Right. And at least
you didn't start from scratch. You came in with a vaccine on pallets being delivered. And they even fact checked this. Even some of the liberal sites fact checked this, and they were like, that's an absolute lie. We can't say that. But just take it down. Take it down. So that was what their solution was. They took the quote down.
Yeah,
they took it off their sites.
Fauci actually said, and his quote was, "We are certainly not starting from scratch because there is active distribution going on." So he kind of fact checked him himself. Not that I'm a big fan of his, but at least he had to scratch his head and say, "What? Wait a minute, what'd she just say?" So, where
are we? Where are we? I don't know. Where are we?
And we're only a month into this.
It's just, and here's the thing. Just remember what we've heard for the last 4 years. All Trump does is lie. Trump just lies. It's just lie after lie after lie after lie. Trump just lies. How's this any different? I mean, these are flat out lies. We started with a bare cupboard. No, you didn't. You had a vaccine. Well, they only ordered 100 million. No kidding. They had a standing order. It was basically dangling a carrot out there. They said, okay, we need 100 million vaccines. We're going to write you a check for it. Now deliver, and you can cash the check. That's basically the way it went down. Okay? So it was a race to get that vaccine, and they got there, and they had 100 million. Then they were ordering, and then Biden said they were going to order 500 more doses, 500 million more doses. And then he had that rambling it was last week. Well, or 2 weeks ago, we're going to order 300 million vaccines, and then because that'll vaccinate 27 people. If we ordered the 300 million from Johnson & Johnson and Cedric the Entertainer, 100 million, and that's how it'll all work. He was throwing out these numbers almost, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm joking a little bit, but his numbers came out as incoherently as what I just said. And he was like, "We'll have enough to vaccinate 300 people." What? 300 people? And these are the kind of answers that we're getting. So I don't know whether he's just flat out lying, and I know she's flat out lying, but I don't know if he's flat out lying or he just doesn't know where he's at anymore. This is frightening. It's just frightening.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you my experience. As you know, I've had both doses now of the Moderna vaccine. After the first one, I had some arm soreness. Felt like I got hit in the arm with a baseball. But other than that, I didn't experience any of the side effects. The second vaccine for me was a lot less side effecty than it has been for some other people that I work with and I know. So for me, it didn't start hitting until late in the day. So I got the vaccine around 10 a.m. and then around 7, 8 o'clock, I just started feeling really tired. And it felt like I had swam 5 miles. All of my muscles ached. These muscles that you don't even know you have ached. And I was just so tired. I did not want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. Had just a mild headache and a little bit of ringing in my ears. And that lasted, I went to bed early. I got up the next day, and 99% of it was gone. And certainly as the following day went on, I was completely back to my normal. It was pretty much sloth-like, but it was way better. So overall, I haven't grown any extra digits, or all my hair hasn't fallen out just yet. I still have most of my teeth. I may or may not have a microchip injected into me. I don't know. But I guess we'll see as time goes on. I still have a little bit of the fatigue, but overall, I think for me, and everybody has to sit down and take their own stock. For me, it was worth it. It was the right route to go. But again, and we talked when it was first coming available. Would you take it? Wouldn't you take it? I don't know. Everybody has to take their own inventory and decide for themselves. And when it became available for me, after I did that, it was the risks outweighed the rewards outweighed any of the risks. So we went ahead and got them. But we'll keep you updated. Maybe I'll get some cool side effect.
I don't know. I'm still waiting in line for the anal swab version. I think I'm going to hold out until I can go that route. But that's just me. I actually have a family member who's a pharmacist, and was just speaking with her about this over the weekend. And she says that this new type of vaccine, your body, when you get that first injection, your body's like, that's pretty cool. And again, because I this is way above my pay grade trying to explain it. I'm trying to explain it how my small mind grasps it. But your body is given something new like this, and it's like, hey, it's not attacking. It's not doing anything bad. Just leave it be. And then when you get the second injection, your body's like, not sure I like that. I better investigate this a little bit more and go after it a little bit. And so that's why it seems that the first shot, because one of the things I asked her, I said, are the two shots different? And she goes, no, they're not. She goes, it's just that your body isn't prepared for that first one. And almost, again, this is me dumbing it down that I can grasp it. Your body's like, that's new. Doesn't seem to be doing anything bad. Leave it be. But the second time, it's kind of prepared for it, and it goes into fight that thing mode, which is what your white blood cells, I guess, do or whatever. But so that seems to be the reason you have people are having an adverse reaction to the second one, but not the first one, even though I guess essentially they're the same shot.
I wonder what's going to happen with the third one. As I was there, I was talking to the nurse that was administering it to me, and she said, yeah, with this new strain that they found down in Florida, the more aggressive strain, they're already talking about a booster injection. So if the second one was bad, what's the third one going to do?
Well, Pfizer is certainly happy about the thought of giving each individual a third injection. That's going to raise their bottom line as well. You know what? Kind of a little bit of a tangent. I don't know if you want to talk about this later about Joe Biden, but it just popped into my head. Did you hear Biden talking about the paraphernalia? Not only do we had a bare cupboard when we came in, we also had to figure out how to get it in the arm, the paraphernalia and the people that could do it. How are we going to get they're called shots, Joe. We've been doing them for about 500 years or so. I don't know. I think that the caveman gave the first shots. And like nurses, pharmacists, techs, there are tons and tons of, people who are trained to give shots. I mean, think about when you get, your flu shots, or you can go, pharmacists give them, nurses give them. How hard is it to give a shot? It's not. Now, the refrigeration was a challenge, of course, but, he's basically trying to make a point of, we had to make sure that the infrastructure was there to deliver shots to get them in the arm, but he can't coherently make that. So in the process, he denigrates the entire nursing profession, and these people that are going to give shots, making something sound so much more difficult than it is. Putting a needle in an arm is a bit of a skill, and people need to be trained to do it. But there are enough people out there to do it if we have enough shots. It takes a while to produce this, to physically produce the actual shots. This isn't just open up the spigot and let it run, and then it goes right into people's arms. I mean, he's just so foolish in the stuff that he says. I know lots of nurses, and I know people in the medical field. To me, that was just an offensive statement. How are we gonna get the paraphernalia to put it in people's arms? No, the people who can put it in people's arms, they're standing by and they're ready to work 14 and 16-hour shifts to do it. You idiot! Just get them the damn shots, and they'll get them in arms.
Yeah, agreed. When I got my second one, there was a long line, and believe me, they had it down like an assembly line. Whereas you got in, you were told where to go and stand, and everybody played their part, and it went well.
So, since I'm on a Biden kick, if I can proceed, the Biden, of course, famously during the campaign said to Beto O'Rourke, "You're going to be my gun czar. You're going to be my gun guy." Because Beto, of course, came out and said, "Damn right, we're going to take your AR-15s, and damn right, we're going to take your AK-47s, and we're going to take the AK-48s and 49s and 50s also if we have to." And Biden then, of course, said that, what was that from the movie? Was it Michael Keaton? Yeah, we're going to put new electric in. What are you going to put in, a 220? Yeah, 220, 221, whatever it takes. You got these people making gun laws or proposing gun laws. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Assault weapons, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I digress. So he was going to make Beto his gun czar. Well, we haven't heard much from Beto. It must not have been polling well, because Beto hasn't even been allowed east of the Mississippi since Biden won the presidency. But Biden comes out, and they love this phrase, weapons of war. We're going to ban weapons of war. If you showed up on the battlefield with an AR-15, the only way you're going to win that battle is if your enemy is laughing so hard that you showed up with an AR-15. An AR-15 is not a weapon of war. You get laughed right off the battlefield. It's not capable of fighting a war. It's capable of killing people, but it's not capable of fighting a war. But that phrase carries so much weight and so much power. Ooh, it's a weapon of war. The only people who think that's a weapon of war is people that don't know what the hell it is. And then Biden also was talking about we're going to get rid of high-capacity magazines with my new legislation. And the high-capacity magazines, every time I hear somebody say high-capacity magazines, first thing I say to them is, what's high capacity?
Yeah.
Well, a lot. Okay, well, what's a lot? Well, I don't know, more than 5. Okay, you just eliminated almost every semi-automatic gun in existence, because the standard magazine that they're gonna accept is gonna have at least 5. So now what do? So now you got these magazines that are now illegal, thus making the guns illegal. What are you gonna do with them? So are they going to call people up and say, okay, stop down at the police station and bring your guns?
Yeah, and do you think...
You want to talk about something...
Do you think the police are actually going to enforce that order? Not the stop down and turn in your guns, but what if he takes it one step further and says, okay, now we see this as registered to Fat Man. We're going to send somebody to pick up your guns. Who's he going to get to actually do that? Because there's been numerous sheriffs that said, we're not doing it.
It's insane because these things that they're proposing, it's like everything that the liberals seem to do. They stop at the headline. Just write a headline, and we don't have to worry about what's downstream. We don't have to worry about how this is actually going to work. You mean to tell me you're gonna have people that are armed, and they're a police officer, a sheriff, a social worker probably is going to show up at their house and go, yeah, I need every pistol, and if it's not a revolver or a you can keep your flintlock, but you got to turn in your Glock. Yeah, and I'll just wait here while you bring it out to me. That is not going to happen. Like, how do they think that's going to go?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And the thing is, they just don't know what they're saying. They have these words and these phrases, and it doesn't mean anything. Assault weapon, it doesn't really mean anything. It's almost like I don't know. I can't tell you what pornography is, but I know what it is when I see it. That's how they're defining assault weapons. I don't know what an assault weapon is, but I know when I see it.
Right.
That's not how our Constitution works. That's not how this country works. And also, here's the other thing. Look at how many people, the millions and millions and millions of people who've bought guns in their first gun in just the last couple of years. How are those people going to react to, that gun you just decided to buy because you didn't feel safe anymore? Yeah, I got to turn that one in. Where are you going with this?
Gun laws don't work. What is this? Which city has the strictest gun laws? And that would be,
it's got to be a toss-up between Chicago and New York.
Yeah, that would be Chicago. And then what city is constantly in the top 2 or 3 of homicides every year and gun crimes every year? What city would that be? Again,
I'm going to take a wild guess and say Dallas.
Yeah. So again, Chicago. So gun laws that are not working.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. If you take the guns out of the people, then eventually the only people with guns will be the criminals. So that's just the way it is. The people that follow the rules that you take the guns from won't have them, but the criminals will always have them. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and then somebody wanted me to bring up a topic, so we're going to do that. We're going to get your input on it here in just a second.
If you would like to be a sponsor or advertise in the Halls of Justice, email us today at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. That's Halls of Justice, spelled JUSTUS, at roadrunner.com. If you have a show idea or would like to be a guest, you can email to hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com.
And we are back. The Halls of Justice. Myself and the Fat Man coming to you. So from time to time, people bring up topics they would like to hear. I don't know if they so much wanted us to talk about this, but they wanted to pick my brain for a minute.
That's slim
right.
pickings.
The fence is still up in Washington, and the troops are still there. So their theory was the fence is still up for one of 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is Biden's going to impose some executive action against the Second Amendment. Number 2, the fence is up because Kamala is expected to be president before the fall, when they are now saying that the troops will go home. So what are you thinking there? Which one of those 2 is more likely, or is it both?
Well, I would go with Kamala first. I don't know what the over-under is on him completing this, but because this is what happens when people don't get information. When you don't share information with people, they fill in the void. When there isn't proper and exact and sensical information, people will fill in the blanks. And this is what happened. Because, first of all, it's supposed to be there to protect the Capitol, protect members of the House and the Senate. They're not there. The House isn't even in session. So people are going, well, why are they there? What are they protecting? If there's no obvious answer, what are you going to start doing? Looking for conspiracies. So, look, I can't imagine Joe Biden makes a year. and I don't know. I mean, I just don't know the answer. I'm dumbfounded by the whole concept of those guys still being there. Certainly, it made sense to have them there during the inauguration, maybe even a week after that. But here's the thing. Why aren't the governors doing what DeSantis has done in Florida and called their guys home? They can do, guys and gals. Why aren't they calling them home? Just bring them home. Call them home. I don't understand.
Yeah. First, it was we have to have the fence and the troops up for the inauguration. Okay, I don't agree with it, but okay. Then it's like, well, we're just going to keep them up because we have the impeachment. Okay, well, that's gone by the wayside. Still no protesters. Now we are almost a week removed from that. All the troops are still there, and the fence is still there. I actually saw a video yesterday. There was one of those small, independent social media news sites, where they basically walk around, they film things, and this guy was walking the fence row, and he was actually commenting as, why is this still up? These troops need to go home. And he was approached on the other side of the fence by two soldiers asking him why they were taking pictures. Why were they filming them there? And, the guy had to produce his media card and show that he was actually with a media company. But they're actively, the troops are engaging these people from the other side of the fence, asking them why they're there, why they're taking pictures, why they're taking videos. So on one hand we have you, and on the other hand we have me, and I'm the tinfoil guy. So there's something about to go down in my mind that they're not telling us, that the fence is there for a reason, and it's not whatever reason they did or didn't say. That's my conspiracy theory for this week.
Well, the response to that question of what are you doing here would have been none ya damn business. Because if there's a fence line and you're on public property, you can film or take pictures of anything you want. So, quite frankly, that should have been the answer. Troops or not. And I don't like to be disrespectful to troops, but this is still America. If I'm inside the line, okay, then you got something to bring up to me. But if I'm outside the line, none ya. It's none of your business, and it makes no sense. But again, I go back to that. You've got this void of information. Why are those troops still there? There's no viable answer. I'll have to circle back to you on it. She's not giving any information as to why they're still there. Nancy Pelosi is giving no reason why they're still there. Again, they're not even in session. And what are you protecting? What is going down in Washington, D.C.? Why do we have a militarized zone in our nation's capital still?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can't have a fence on the border, but we should sure have one in Washington.
I thought they didn't work, by the way. I thought fences didn't work.
They don't work at all. So, Cali or Florida? That's the question. They have tackled the pandemic in vastly different ways. California and Florida have experienced similar trends, with the number of cases and the death rate has been on the decline in recent weeks. California has emerged as one of the strictest states in the nation, with current Governor Newsom shutting down businesses and schools. His administration said it was implementing those measures based on the county's ICU capacity. That's how many beds they have available. However, in Florida, Ron DeSantis, a Republican, took an entirely different approach. He started off with measures fairly similar to Newsom early on, but then he said, you know what, this isn't how it works. This isn't how people live and work. So he lifted all the statewide restrictions on the economy, and he even prohibited law enforcement from finding people. So the latest numbers on the COVID-19, California has 3.5 million COVID cases in total, and Florida has 1.8 million. And I know you spent 40-some days there. I'm sure most of the places had to do some form of social distancing and stuff, but was the economy vibrant? People looked like they were having a somewhat normal-ish life? Were you restricted from going anywhere or doing anything?
So the way I viewed Florida, and it was 42 days, and the way I viewed Florida is they allowed you to be a free American and do what you thought was best for you, while still respecting that there are people out there that have higher possibilities of catching and dying from COVID. It was the perfect storm, so to speak, in a good way. So if you had a high concern, or you were like, I have an elderly cousin, they basically didn't come out of their house. I didn't even get to see them while I was down there because they didn't come out of their house. They were afraid, and they have some illnesses that you could understand where they were coming from. They took that approach. I have other family members down there that are like, look, we're here to live our life. So when we went out, if you went into a restaurant, kind of like you have to do in Pennsylvania, when you entered the establishment, you had to have the mask on. Once you sat down, take it off. So to sum up how the whole trip went, pretty much anything that I would have done on any normal time in Florida. If I would have gone in 2017, I got to do everything I would have wanted to do with just a couple of modifications. We did go to Disney, and I would not have gone to Disney if it had been a case of, the hour and a half waits. They limited the amount of people who were able to go into Disney, which made lines shorter, which is the reason I actually went. But several of the restaurants were closed, and it was tough to get food in Disney. But outside of that, everything I would have normally done, gone to restaurants. I went from Jacksonville to Orlando to Cocoa Beach to Fort Lauderdale to Key West. I traveled all over the state of Florida, and I was able to pretty much do any and everything that we want, including restaurants, activities, et cetera, et cetera. So, and like I said, when you went into a store, put a mask on, just out of courtesy to other people. I don't care if you believe in it or not. Be courteous. Just do it. And as soon as I came out, thing came off. And some stores didn't even require it, but they allowed you to make the decision. That was my choice. If somebody else chose not to wear it, I respected it and said, okay, my mask will, I put 7 masks on because I think that's what Fauci's up to now, right? It was first put 6 and now put 12, and now I'm just wearing a scuba mask, So Florida was like being a free American again. So,
what do you think about him being on the ticket?
It's going that way. His leadership has been tremendous. He has done exactly what he thought is right for his state. He's stuck by his guns. He's followed the science. I think he's tremendous. I think he's absolutely tremendous, and I think he's one of the front runners looking at 2024.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
That's going to be a long list, though. There's a lot of good names on that 2024 list, but he is certainly. Unlike murdering Mario up there in New York, he's actually leading his state the right way and being a good steward for the people in his state.
Okay. Oh, you mean DeSantis is? I thought we were talking.
Is.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no. Unlike
the other way.
Mario,
gotcha.
Unlike the other way that he's doing, DeSantis is actually
not killing people.
Taking care of his people, and he's not killing people, and he's allowing them to live. And the only time, I'll be honest with you, the only time I got a little bit uncomfortable, we were in St. Augustine, and there's this, I think it's called Green Street or something like that, and it's basically where you walk, and there's all kind of shops and stores and blah blah blah, and it was asses to elbows. It was jam packed, and I would say maybe a third of the people were wearing masks. And even at that point, and I'm usually not uncomfortable at all. I don't have a big fear. But even I was like, I'm going to put my mask on. And I wore it then. But that was just, again, I was allowed to make that decision. It wasn't forced upon me. Yeah. If somebody didn't feel comfortable doing it, don't put it on. I didn't feel comfortable walking around with that many people around me. I put it on.
Yeah. So the last little story I got here that I'm going to get to, I like to call it the no green deal. So I'm sure you've heard the power is out in Texas. This is where all the wind farms are. This is where all the turbines are, and it got cold. Granted, it doesn't usually get this cold in Texas, but it got cold and it froze, and they are now froze, and they are now without power. A lot of them. The grid operator in Texas, they say about half of the wind turbines are froze because of the weather. So their grid is so dependent on those wind turbines. You know, the ones that when you get fired and laid off from your pipeline job, you could just go build wind turbines because that's how it works. So, this is just another thing that Trump was right about. He said, look, these things are horrible for the environment. You know, they don't work. They cost more to produce than they do give. Yeah, and they murder birds. So, is it ironic? Yeah, I feel bad for those people. I hope a lot of them have backup generators. But this is what they want to move to. And we're up here in the northern climate. How do you prevent the wind turbines from freezing up? Because guaranteed it was -1 yesterday, and we got 14 inches of snow. Oh.
This is what happens when you put the cart before the horse. I think the statistic I saw was that wind and solar was something like almost a third of what their the power for the grid in Florida or in California. I'm going Biden on you, in Texas. And they weren't prepared for this. And this is also, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is also something where, boy, it'd be nice to be able to trust the media, because I've actually heard both sides of this now. So originally the story came out, and here's the big problem, the big headline. Well, we got these solar panels, and, they're all covered in snow, and we got these windmills and blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden the other side comes out and goes, no, that's not the problem. It was actually the generators, the gas-powered generators that weren't being used, and, blah, blah. So, wait, be nice to have the media come out and give us the actual story, not whatever their side wants to promote. Tell us what the real problem is here. Investigate this and figure out what the real problem was. Is there a problem with the generators? Or was it a problem that they were relying too heavily on solar and on wind? I mean, just think about that for a minute, too. Texas. You've got fossil fuels coming out the wazoo in Texas, of all places. A third of their power is supplied by wind with no backup. How can there not be a backup? Like, this is almost like the Capitol. There's so many layers of the mistakes here. Like, it just makes sure it boggles the mind. Okay, if you're relying on wind and you're relying on solar, didn't somebody think at some point, maybe we should still have that, just like for your home? Maybe you should have that generator just in case. Wasn't there some sort of backup? If they lose wind and if they lose solar, where's the backup? Where's the people that were responsible to this? Did they just hire a bunch of coal miners to all of a sudden write the programs for this? Because wasn't that one of the other jobs that John Kerry wanted them to get? They can go write, or no, that was Biden wanted it. They can go write code. So, their first day on the job, they're writing code on how these windmills should work in cold weather. It just doesn't make any sense, because it's a comedy of errors. It's one after another. But ultimately, how is there not a backup for this power? I don't understand it. Whether it's the generators, the gas generators, or the coal-fired generators, or whatever it was, or whether it was the windmills, how is this happening? This is 2021. This isn't 1821. How is this happening? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Even Fred and Barney.
There's a governor down there that's a Republican. What's that?
Even Fred and Barney had better luck.
I didn't hear you. Exactly. And people are dying because of this. This just makes no sense. In California, you understand it happening because their infrastructure, their power out there, and then they don't have the ability to generate enough for the population. But this is Texas, man. You got oil refineries everywhere. How does Texas ever run out of power for anything?
Yeah, I don't know. You got anything, or I got one more thing that's it's just food for thought.
Well, I did want to. I got a funny thing that I want to get into, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about Disney real quick. And I know this is starting to fade and it's getting pushed to the back, but like I told you, I did go to Disney, and it turned my stomach to actually be in a Disney park, to be at a Disney facility, because I hate what they stand for, and it's just liberalism run rampant. and I got scolded because I took 2 steps and I had a nacho in my mouth and I was chewing it. I had I had my mask down. Literally, a lady literally yelled at me. But I've never watched this Mandalorian thing, but this Gina Carano, who's apparently a conservative actress, she got kicked off, and I don't like these types of memes that she put on. But you can also understand what the comparison is. You can see where she's going with it. I just don't like, because of what the Holocaust was, and because of the Nazis and Hitler. I just in general don't like them being invoked. Right. But it's become commonplace now. It's the same as everything is racist. So now nothing's racist. But it's just become so commonplace. People just allow it to happen. But so I don't like what she did, and of course it cost her job. But did you also see he's a producer for Disney? His name's Jack Morrissey. I don't know if you saw the meme that he did, but it said #MAGA kids go screaming hats first into the wood chipper.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Let me repeat that. Yeah, MAGA kids go screaming hats first into the wood chipper, and it's followed by a picture of a child being put into a wood chipper, and coming out of the wood chipper is blood spatter. This guy kept his job.
Yeah, it's due on to thee, but not to me, I guess is how that goes.
Yeah, how is that acceptable? I mean, again, and I don't know if you remember, if you saw what the Carano comment. Basically, the Carano thing was about the Nazis didn't rely on other Nazis to turn people in. It was the neighbors. So the way they weeded out people who were against the Reich is the Third Reich is you got neighbors. So if you and I were neighbors and I heard you say something bad about Hitler, I would rat you out. And her point was that's what they're doing with these COVID. Because remember, they at one point they wanted COVID task force. They had that in Pennsylvania. They wanted you, if you saw a restaurant or your neighbor or too many cars in your neighbors, they wanted you calling the police. That's what they wanted to do here. So that was her point. And honestly, it's a different level of disgusting, but conceptually it's the same. Mm-hmm. But that got her fired.
Yeah,
that got her fired.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have kids being placed into a wood chipper as long as they go MAGA hat first.
Yeah, no, I read it, and when I read it, my exact thoughts was, it's probably not going to go over really well. I totally understand, like you did, where she was going with it, but anytime somebody invokes any kind of comparison to the Holocaust, Hitler, Nazis, anything like that, there's always blowback, always. And this time it cost her. And I got to admit, so The Mandalorian, I was a big fan of, even more so. And I'm a Star Wars geek. I thought that was a better put together series than the movies. But I guess she's got another gig lined up, though, so she'll land on her feet.
Yeah, Disney's disgusting. Disney, ESPN, ABC, the whole thing is just disgusting. And this is there's no better single one example to show the hypocrisy of how they run their organization and how they, like, again, being in their parks, you should see how these kids are brainwashed. I mean, obviously it's a fun time and all that kind of stuff, the rides and the Mickey, but these kids are brainwashed, man. And it's not just the kids. You should have seen adults walking around in full costumes. Adults, not with their kids, Cinderellas. I was in Star Wars. There was a big fat Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, I don't remember Obi-Wan Kenobi being like 390 pounds, having a beard. I don't remember him looking like that, and this is how people are brainwashed into the adulation of all things Disney. And this is the kind of stuff that this is what is behind the scenes at Disney. And honestly, it's disgusting. It really is. If you're going to fire one, you fire both. Yeah. There should be a standard.
Agreed. So I don't look at the Disney as totally brainwashing. I know some people that do the Comic-Con things, and for them it's more of a way to escape the reality of what's going on even if it's just a short period of time. Again,
I mean, it's the same as sports. I get that. It's like some people, you could say like when I go to a Steeler game, I put the jersey on. I used to wear the inflatable helmet. I carry my terrible towel. So yeah, so I'm programmed. I am brainwashed to the same extent. I get it. And if that's all it was, that's fine. That's fine. It's not the end users that I have the problem with. It's Disney. Yeah. It's what Disney has
deep
become,
down in,
and how they can fire this woman for what she said, and then this producer wants to run kids through a wood chipper, and that's totally acceptable.
Yeah. What else you got?
Okay, so I know we always try to end on a little bit of a lighter note. So, being a Steeler fan, I hate Tom Brady. I have to. I don't have a choice.
Because he beat you so many times?
And not that I'm disappointed in that. Yes, exactly. Exactly. We've been the same reason that the Browns fans hate the Steelers is the same reason that the Steeler fans hate Tom Brady. And then you know what? He's got a supermodel wife. He's the poor one in his family. He's got so much money. I could just give you all these reasons. All these reasons to hate him. But with that said, and I do hate him, I respect his ability. I can't help but acknowledge that he's the GOAT. He's just unbelievable. And what he did with Tampa is that, to me, and again, as much as I hate him and I hated that he cheated, what he did with Tampa took them, it was almost like, hey guys, I'm going to Tampa. Anybody want to win a ring? And he just shows up and wins a ring. So you have to respect him as an athlete. So this comes from a place of, I can't stand the guy, but I can't believe this is what's going on. Have you ever heard of Lorraine Groves?
I have not heard of.
Apparently, Lorraine grew a set because Lorraine Groves is the daughter of the man who originally crafted the Lombardi Trophy. So I guess he designed it.
The trophy maker.
She wants an apology from Tom Brady for disrespecting the Lombardi Trophy when he threw it from one boat to another one. She says, it just upset me that this trophy was disgraced and disrespected by being thrown as if it was a real football.
So believe me, if that's all you saw done to that trophy, I'm sure that trophy's been a lot worse places.
That trophy's going, honey, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah. So right off the rip, my question is she disgraced by Rob Gronkowski? Because he had a different Lombardi Trophy that they won in New England, and somebody pitched a baseball to him, and he put a big dent in it by swinging it like a baseball bat. So does she hate him too?
Of course. And
it's just crazy.
And here's the thing. It's insanity. She took an opportunity to get her name in a newspaper. Yeah. But, what are people thinking? Come on. I mean, think about the Stanley Cup. Now, remember, the Stanley Cup is the Stanley Cup. It gets passed around from team to team. And there's a famous book. There's I think the title of the book is Where is the Stanley Cup and how did it get to the bottom of Mario's pool? It's a famous story here in Pittsburgh that it ended up in the bottom of Mario Lemieux's pool when the Penguins won the Cup back in the 90s. And the Penguins also dented it the 1 year that they won it. So there's all these great stories about the Stanley Cup. And, you see pictures because each player with the Stanley Cup gets 1 full day with the cup. And they can basically do whatever they want with it. Or whoever they want with it. And there's pictures of people eating cereal out of it. There's pictures of babies in it, drinking beer and any kind of alcohol out of it. And then there's the stuff that you don't have pictures of that was done with the Stanley Cup. But this is just and each player when you win a Super Bowl, you do get a replica of the trophy as well. Now that certainly wasn't it. That was the one that they won because they don't have them yet. But I mean, come on, lady. What are you talking about? So, I mean, it's just, of all the things we've got, we're going through COVID. We're trying to suffer through a Biden-Harris presidency, people dying left and right, all this stuff. And she wants an apology over a trophy being thrown from one boat to another.
Yeah. That's just people having fun. It's like when we worked in radio. If the studio walls could talk.
Here's Lorraine finished it up by saying, I personally would like an apology, not just to me and my family and the other silversmiths, but to the fans, all the football fans, the other team players. I'm just going to tell you right now, as a football fan, this woman, this maroon, does not speak for this football fan. And I can tell you, she probably doesn't speak for many.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to say I'm sorry.
No apology necessary.
No, I'm giving it. I'm sorry. Won't happen again. Whatever makes you happy.
You're a Cleveland fan. You don't know anything about the Lombardi Trophy. You know nothing about a Lombardi Trophy.
This is true.
You can't comment.
Maybe someday. So you get 30 seconds on this because we're running out of time here. Is being a Pittsburgh...
Boy, I've heard that line before.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Being a Pittsburgh fan, is JJ going to come play with his brothers?
No chance. There's a better chance he'll end up in Cleveland. First of all, we don't have a need for a defensive end. We don't have the cap space to fit him under, and our problems are on the offensive side of the ball, not on the defensive side of the ball. This was one of those things that just drives me crazy. Every time, you probably have it in Cleveland in every city, but every time there's an opening for a coach, or a player gets released, we got to get that guy because he used to play here. Oh, he played college football here. He'd be a good coach to bring back. No, he wouldn't. You bring back people who can do the job and fit into what you need. This is just a story because TJ plays for the Steelers. That's the only reason the Steelers are brought up, and people romanticize the idea, and there's no chance.
So I did a quick poll on the Facebook. We get a lot of listeners in Ohio, and for those of you that are listening, I'm here to say that he is the third best Watt in the league right now, and he's not coming to Cleveland. As a matter of fact, his numbers last year, and he actually played all 16 games, were less than the second-rated defensive end on the Browns. So don't overpay for him. Don't buy the hype. He was awesome. He's unbeatable as a humanitarian and a member of the community.
Look, he's a good player. He's a good player if you need a defensive end.
Yeah.
But
he was good.
It doesn't sound like Cleveland needs one, and Pittsburgh doesn't need one either. But he's a good player. He's not the three-time defensive player of the year he was 6, 7, 8 years ago. But he's still a good player, and he can be a good player on the right team. It's just these crazy ideas.
Jumping the gun here.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't tell me the hour's up already.
It's up. Just like that. It's over.
This has gone entirely too fast. I've really enjoyed this show.
I know, it's over. Here's what I want you to think about for next week.
Hey, rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh, and we'll miss you.
Absolutely. So for next week, I want you to think about this.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
This is scary. Who do you think owns the most farmland in the United States right now?
I know who owns the most land, but I don't know about the farmland.
Maybe the same guy. So that would be...
It's not a guy, it's an entity.
No. Bill Gates owns the most farmland now. He has been buying it up like crazy. And just this week, he came out with a statement is all rich countries, like the United States, should move to 100% synthetic beef. So...
That's got to be a coincidence.
No.
Has to be.
No. Put on your thinking toques. Wrap that tinfoil tight, because Bill Gates is going to take away all the dairy farms. He's just not going to let you farm it, and pretty soon it's going to be just like Monsanto. He's going to be the evil guy, and it doesn't look good to me. So think about that. We'll talk about that next week.
Buy ammo. That's all I'm telling you.
What's it?
Buy ammo.
That's right.
I'm not telling you what to do with it. I'm just telling you, buy ammo.
All righty, folks. That's it for this hour of the Halls of Justice. We will see you again next week. Don't forget, if you would like to be a show, if you'd like to be on the show, or you got an idea, drop us a line, justice@hallsofjustice.com. And this week we went over our minor milestone in followers on the Facebook side of it. So if one of those is you, thank you very much. And be sure you share this with your friends and get them to listen as well. All righty.
Do we have 30 more seconds?
We do.
Okay, so I need the people, the listeners, to rally. I want to file an official protest that all of our marketing budget was used on your coffee mug. And the fat man got nothing.
Oh, sorry.
I got nothing.
Especially when it was made
You
here.
get a Halls of Justice coffee mug, and I got nothing.
Yeah.
This is a travesty, and matter of fact, I might have to go on a hunger strike. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Well, I'll talk to you again in 3 weeks then. All righty. Good night, Fat Man.
Good night.
You've been listening to The Halls of Justice. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have a show idea, would like to be a guest, or just want to communicate with the show, email us at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Tell all your friends. And we'll see you for another